US President Donald Trump's decision to impose 25% tariffs on goods imported from India could hit the country's growth prospects, experts say. It is unclear how big the hit could be, given that Trump has announced an unspecified penalty in addition to the 25% tariff rate. In a post on his Truth Social platform on Wednesday, Trump said the penalty would be imposed on India starting 1st of August for buying Russian oil and weapons, at a time when everyone wants Russia to stop the killing in Ukraine. Experts say further details on the fine print of the penalty will be crucial to determine the actual economic impact of the decision. The tariff and penalty, now proposed by the US, is higher than what we had anticipated and is therefore likely to pose a headwind to India's GDP growth. The extent of the downside will depend on the size of the penalties imposed, Aditi Nayar, chief economist at ratings agency ICRA, said in a statement. ICRA had previously reduced its gross domestic product, GDP forecast for India for this financial year from 6.5% to 2% due to the adverse impact of the tariff hikes. Another brokerage, Nomura, said the tariffs were growth negative, and India's GDP could take a hit of 0.2% as a result of the announcements. Indian stock markets reacted negatively to the news, opening in the red as trade began for the day. The market was expecting a tariff deal to work out as longer-term US-India strategic interests are aligned, said Nilesh Shah, a fund manager. India and the US have held several rounds of negotiations for a trade deal over the past few months, with Delhi even reducing tariffs on goods like bourbon whiskey and motorcycles to placate the US. But the US runs a 45 BN, 33 BN trade deficit with India, which Trump is keen to reduce. A 25% tariff plus additional penalties will leave India worse off relative to other Asian economies like Vietnam and China, the main countries we are competing against for investment and industrialization. Rahul Ahluwalia of the Foundation for Economic Development think tank told the BBC. US tariffs on Chinese imports fell from 145% to 30% after negotiations in Geneva and London. The two sides now have until 12 August to reach a long-term trade deal. Trump also inked a deal with Vietnam in early July, agreeing to levy tariffs of 20% compared with a 46% levy proposed in April. Given that India's tariffs are no longer lower than these countries, an expected diversion of export supply chains in sectors like textiles to India is now unlikely. If the tariff is sustained, this move may directly affect key sectors such as marine products, pharmaceuticals, textiles, leather, and automobiles, where bilateral trade has been especially robust, said Agneshwar Sen, trade policy expert at EY India. Trump to hit India with 25% tariffs, plus penalty for trade with Russia. Is the big, beautiful India-US trade deal in trouble? What tariffs has Trump introduced and why? Trump's announcement evoked across-the-board reactions of disappointment and concern from economists, exporters, and industry leaders in India. While this move is unfortunate and will have a clear bearing on our exports, we hope that this imposition of higher tariffs will be a short-term phenomenon, and that a permanent trade deal between the two sides will be finalized soon. Mr. Harsha Vardhan Agarwal, president of industry body FICCI, said. Dr. Ajay Sahai, who heads a federation of Indian exporting organizations, said the tariffs will lead to fresh price negotiations between US buyers and Indian sellers to decide how much of the 25% hike exporters can absorb. Tariffs are typically taxes charged on goods imported from other countries. Exporters are indirectly impacted by higher tariffs because these taxes make goods costly for end consumers and lead to reduced demand. This can force exporters to cut prices in order to remain competitive, impacting their margins. In a press statement, India's Commerce Ministry said it is studying the implications of Trump's announcement. India has reiterated that while the government remains committed to a mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement, it attached the utmost importance to protecting and promoting the welfare of our farmers, entrepreneurs, and MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. An indication that areas like agriculture, dairy, and other politically sensitive sectors have become key sticking points that derailed the negotiations. India's opposition Congress Party mounted a scathing attack on the government following the announcement. In a post on X, the Congress said that while Prime Minister Narendra Modi campaigned for Trump, referring to a 2019 rally Modi held in the US, and hugged him like a long-lost brother, in return, Trump goes on to impose such harsh tariff on India. It is a catastrophic failure of foreign policy. India has reiterated that while the government remains committed to a mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement, it attached the utmost importance to protecting and promoting the welfare of our farmers, entrepreneurs, and MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. An indication that areas like agriculture, dairy, and other politically sensitive sectors have become key sticking points that derailed the negotiations. India's opposition Congress Party mounted a scathing attack on the government following the announcement. In a post on X, the Congress said that while Prime Minister Narendra Modi campaigned for Trump, referring to a 2019 rally Modi held in the US, and hugged him like a long-lost brother, in return, Trump goes on to impose such harsh tariff on India. It is a catastrophic failure of foreign policy.